It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I've just managed to finally sit up in bed and I hate everything that isn't medication or caffeine or mic. Blah. It's one of those days. But I really want to film for you guys. So yeah, I'm gonna down a whole bunch of Powerade sports drops stuff. And get me some chocolate and some pills, especially pain meds, because that's one of the reasons I've been in bed so long. And make myself not look so dead. And I shall see you guys shortly. Hello! Welcome to my Thursday video. This one's gonna be my brow tutorial. So yeah, like how I do my brows on a day-to-day basis, the products that I use every single day, other products that I recommend, because the brow pencil that I use is a high-end product, but there are plenty of, more affordable versions that are equally good. The only reason I use the product that I do is because of the shade, not because of the formulation. There are so many fantastic brow products out there. This tutorial involves using a brow pencil. If you'd like to see a tutorial, where I show you how to use a brow pomade, then I'd be more than happy to do that, or a routine using powders instead. I sort of cycle through doing, pencil, pomade, or powders, just sort of depending on my mood, what I feel like, what else I'm doing with my makeup. So I'd be more than happy to show you guys how to do, either or both of the other two as well. But yeah, let's get into the tutorial. Hello! Yeah. The dead have risen. So yes, I have all my makeup done except my brows. I have pain meds and caffeine in my system and my blood pressure meds, so I can actually sit upright without getting dizzy now, which is nice. However, I am still incredibly brain foggy, so if I say some things that make a buttload of nonsense, please excuse me. But yes, let's get into the brow routine-ness. So the things that I use to do my brows, first off, I always need, Q-tips or cotton buds or whatever you want to call them, with my little, dispenser doodad thingy. But yeah, it's because I always make a mess of them in the process of doing them, so don't be worried if your brows look terrible in the process of getting towards looking good, because mine always do. I always make mistakes, I always have one arch too high and I just look like I'm sort of raising an eyebrow at people constantly, which I can't actually really do normally, so yes. So these are an absolute necessity. The main thing that I use to actually fill in my brows is the Auburn Decay Brow Beater in Dark. It's this really nice thin brow pencil, this doodad here. I love this thing. It's like, oh my god, it's so hard for me to find a brow pencil that's like ashy enough for me to use it, because of course with the cool undertones of my skin, if I have warm toned brows, it looks really weird, just on me, so yeah. But if you don't feel like spending this much on a brow pencil, although it does last you a long time, I've had this since just after Christmas, and I mean, I've still got about a month's worth left, so it's gonna last me about like 5-6 months. But yeah, if you don't feel like spending that much on a brow pencil, which I totally understand. I also recommend the Colourpop brow pencils, these ones here. I got this one in Taupe and it's actually really warm, so if you're looking for a cool toned one, apparently they're one in brown black, or black brown, whichever way around it is. Apparently that one's fairly ashen, so I definitely recommend, trying that one out. I can't guarantee that it's going to be cool toned enough for you, but that's the one that I've heard people who want cool toned brows should go for. Taupe is definitely too warm, but the formulation of these is gorgeous. Generally, I've gotten the best results out of brow pencils that are slightly dry, but this one is nice and creamy and I still get an outstanding result. It just glides on really thinly, which is unusual for a creamy brow pencil. I find that the creamier ones tend to go on too thickly and it looks a little cakey and chunky and unnatural, but this one goes on really smoothly, really thinly. It just gives you a really nice result, so yeah, and the spoolie on the end is really nice too. I've also been loving lately the drawing eyebrow from Etude House, this one here. I don't know, it's got a different shape than the applicator. It's one of those sort of like triangular shapes. Nibs. Don't know whether you guys can see that way, but yeah, it does make it quicker to apply, but I don't know, it requires a sort of different technique when you apply it. So if you guys want to see how I do my brows with this shape of eyebrow pencil, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to do that. This one in the shade, what shade is this one? Huh. It just says shade number 01. This one is quite ashy. I really, really like this one. This one definitely works for me. Again, this next one is too warm for me to use it, but I really love the formulation of it. It's the L'Oreal Brow Artist Shaper. Just a pretty standard brow pencil with a brush on one end. When you take the brush off, it's got wax, so that's great for sort of, you know, holding your brow hairs in place. You put the wax on first, and then you go over it with the pencil. And the wax also helps the pencil to like stay in place as well. So, you know, if you accidentally sort of brush your eyebrow, it's less likely to smudge or, you know, move around the place. So yeah, I definitely like that. That's a really nice idea. And the pencil is just a standard, you know, sharpened pencil. This is the only one out of the 4 that I've shown you so far that you actually do need to sharpen, but I don't mind that if the product is good. And this one is definitely good. Once I've penciled in my brows, I follow it up with the L'Oreal Brow Artist Plumper. This stuff here. It's a brow mascara that's tinted, and the dark brown one is definitely cool toned enough for me to use. Yes! But it's also got fibers in it, so it plumps up your brows really nicely. Another reason that I use this is that I do tint my brows, and then like as they're growing, I get like some that aren't tinted, if you know what I mean, or like the base of them aren't tinted because they're growing. So yeah, this kind of helps conceal that and make everything look a bit more seamless and blended together. So yeah, I love this stuff. I also love just applying this without penciling in my brows. On days where I'm wearing really minimal makeup, you know, like just mascara, maybe a little bit of eyeliner and a lip gloss, or you know, like a tinted lip balm or something. If I just run this through my brows, it makes them look more sort of tamed and, you know, refined. It just kind of makes the whole look appear a bit more pulled together, you know, a bit more complete, without me having to go to the effort of spending ages penciling in my brows. So yeah, this is a fantastic product. I really recommend picking this up, especially if you do tend to go for minimal makeup. This is a really easy way to just sort of tailor your brows a little bit, make it all look a bit neater and a bit more pulled together, as I said. Okay, so now you can see what my brows look like without anything in them. So yeah, they're pretty fine. But yeah, take my glasses off. The parts of my brows that are naturally dark are actually a lot sparser than this. When you tint your brows, it picks up all the little sort of pale hairs that are the same color as just, you know, the fuzz that's all over your face. So you can't normally see them, but when you tint them, it makes your brows look fuller. So that's definitely something I do regularly. When I was a kid, my brows were like white blonde, you know, like the rest of my hair was. And my friends always used to ask my mum why I had no eyebrows, because it looked like I had none at all. So yeah, I rather enjoy being able to pencil in my brows and have them look awesome, so yes. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is, you know, take both caps off so that you're ready to go, of course. I'm going to be using my little Stila compact mirror thingy. I've only got one shadow in it, but I really want to get more Stila eyeshadow, so I figured this was a nice little doodad to get. So you want to take the spoolie and just run it through your brows to make sure that there are no, like, you know, random hairs sticking up that are going to cause you problems and get unruly. You know, if you brush them straight up, you can see how even it is across the top. And I trimmed mine yesterday, so mine's fairly even. If you do this and you've got sort of random spikes, you just want to take a pair of, you know, small scissors and just trim it so that it sits fairly straight when you do this. That's going to make it a lot easier to fill them in and get them to look neat and refined, I guess. So I just go and do that to both brows and make sure that all the hairs on the end are sitting where I want them to. And then you can go in with a pencil. So, here we go. I'm so nervous doing this on camera because it's always a process of screwing it up before I get it right. So yeah, the first thing I do is just to run a line under the brow. Just there. And of course I always screw it up first, so then you can just run your finger under it and smooth it out because the product will catch in the hairs. So yeah, you just want to run that line under your brows and then draw little flicks from that line up into your brow hairs. And where you want to draw that initial line is right where the hairs start growing, so like right at the roots. You don't want to go lower than that because it's going to look unnatural. And then you just brush it through, which surprisingly spreads the product out quite a lot. These little spoolies are awesome. So you can see already that's made a huge difference just on its own. So after that, I tend to take it through to this bit here and just start filling in the little gaps. Yeah, obey me, hair! Then I just take it through to the tail and kind of decide what shape I want the tail to be. So I just tend to continue the line that goes from here because my brows are quite short, so I do extend the tail a bit. And how you decide where you want the tail to end, there's a really nifty little trick that you can do. It looks bizarre, but if you get your brow pencil and run a line from like the outside of your nose here, past the corner of your eye, like this, yeah, then you can see where your brow should end. It's sort of a, I guess, a trigonometry thing. But yeah, so where I've drawn it to is actually right where it should be, which is nice. So then I just go back and make this a little thicker by drawing a line above it. If you want to thicken out this bit here, it's always better to draw above it than below it, because if you draw below it, you're going to drag your brow down. And it has a sort of slouching effect on your eyes. So when you fill in your brows, it's best to do little flicks, because the end result is going to look more natural than if you do like thick lines. And I definitely recommend using a light hand, because if you go in with heavy strokes, it's much harder to blend everything out with the spoolie, and you end up looking quite cakey and, like I said, just unnatural. So when I get to this point here, this is roughly where I want my arch to be, because again, using the same sort of method, the way to work out where your arch should be is going from the outer corner and you look straight ahead and draw it through your pupil, and that's roughly, yeah, let me see. Yeah, that's roughly where your arch should be. So right in the middle of there. And you can draw a little dot there if you want to kind of help you line things up. So I just join what I've made from the tail up to that point there, and then join that to the rest of my brow. And what I find is that I can see little hairs that actually line up between here and here. So it actually does follow the natural contour of my brow, which is nice. It's reassuring. I'm really glad that so far I haven't monumentally screwed this up yet, which is quite unusual. So then you just keep going back and brushing it through. You don't want to brush through this bit too heavily because you're going to smudge it, but you just want to make sure that what you're penciling in actually follows where the hairs go. And if you keep brushing them up, then again, that has a kind of lifting effect rather than if you brush them down. So there we go. That one's pretty good so far. I also find that this brow ends a little higher than this brow, so I tend to carry the line along the top here. And it just ever so slightly makes this brow look a little bit thicker. It brings it into line with this one. When I do that, I keep the line as close to like where the hairs are as possible, and then I brush the hair up, covering the line as much as I can. Again, to keep it looking less like Sharpie brows. So here goes nothing. And then I brush it through again. Then you'll be able to see whether there are any little spots where it looks uneven, and of course there's this little dip in here where the pigment isn't showing as clearly, so I just go over that, make it look a bit more preened, I guess. And I'm just kind of stamping the product. Out of frame. I'm just kind of stamping the product here rather than like sweeping it, because you don't want to overdo it. I've just noticed this looks a little pointy, so I'm going back and dragging the line down there, rounding it out. If you round it out a bit, it looks more natural. There we go. Awesome. So you can see here as well, I don't know how clearly you can see, but the line actually extends a little past where my brow ends. So what I tend to do is just drag it very lightly through the end. You don't want to have like totally squared off brows. Just so there's a little bit of pigment there, and then brush it through quite thoroughly. It's always going to look more natural if the inner bit of your brows isn't completely squared off, if it just looks like that's where the hairs end. So, there we go. You never want to put too much product right in the end there. Okay, so that's one brow done. I mean, the difference is astronomical, but it still just looks like an eyebrow. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't look like, yeah, Sharpie brows. I never want to have Sharpie brows. Okay, so I'm gonna go and do the other one so you can see the complete look, and I will be back shortly. Ta-da! Other brow done! Okay, when you do the other brow, one thing to remember is that there's this line that you often hear people repeating, and it's that your brows are sisters, not twins. They don't have to be identical, they just have to not look distinctly different. So, you can see there are differences between my two brows, but just looking at my face front on, or side on, or whatever, it doesn't look like they don't belong together. So that's fine, that's more than good enough. Okay, so once I've done that, I take my L'Oreal Brow Artist Plumper, just brush a little off the end of the brush because product tends to gather on the tip of the brush and you can kind of smudge it on your skin. So I just tend to brush that off and just gently wisp it through my brows. And you can see it makes just that little extra difference. It also holds the brow hairs in place, which is certainly helpful, because the last thing you want is to have like your brows perfectly penciled in like this, and then have hairs that like drop down below it and ruin the whole damn thing. And there we go, all done. So yeah, that's my brow routine. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you have any questions on like, you know, how I do my brows or any problems that you encounter while doing your brows and you'd like sort of, you know, advice on like how to fix it or how to work around certain things, please let me know in the comment section. If I get a bunch of questions, I'm more than happy to do a follow-up video to this one and just answer them all and, you know, show you how to manage whatever it is that your question relates to. But yes, I hope you guys are having an awesome, fantabulous week. Please hit the like button and subscribe so that you don't miss my future videos. There will be a lot more tutorials coming up in the near future, so I'm really excited to show you guys those. But yes, keep on being your awesome, gorgeous, chronically fabulous selves, and I shall see you guys on Monday. See ya.